Lesson 6 from February 1 to 7, From Arrogance to Destruction. Monday, February 3, An Uninvited Guest. Question, read Daniel chapter 5, verses 5 to 8. What happens and why does the king respond as he does? In what ways does this account parallel Daniel 2, and why is that parallel important? Also look at Psalm 96 verse 5 and Colossians 1 verses 15 to 17. So first of all we look at Daniel chapter 5 beginning at verse 5. In the same hour the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened and his knees knocked against each other. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. The king spoke, saying to the wise men of Babylon, Whoever reads this writing and tells me its interpretation shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around his neck, and he shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Now all the king's wise men came, but they could not read the writing, or make known to the king its interpretation. And Psalm 96 verse 5, For all the gods of the people are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. And Colossians 1 verses 15 to 17, He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation, for by him all things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for him, and he is before all things, and in him all things consist. As Nebuchadnezzar does in previous crises in Daniel chapter 2 and chapter 4, Belshazzar calls the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers to clarify the mysterious writing. Daniel 2 verse 2 reads, Then the king gave the command to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And Daniel 4 verse 7, Then the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers came in and told them the dream, but they did not make known to me its interpretation. And to make sure that they gave their best, the king promises them extravagant honours. 1. Purple clothing, a colour worn by royalty in ancient times, as we read in Esther chapter 8 verse 15. So Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, with a great crown of gold and a garment of fine linen and purple, and the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. 2. A chain of gold, which was a sign of high social status, as we read in Genesis 41:42. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and he clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. And 3. The position of third ruler in the kingdom. This last reward reflects accurately the historical circumstances of Babylon at that time. Because Belshazzar was second ruler or co-regent with his father, Nabonidus, he offers the position of third ruler. But despite the tempting rewards, the sages once again failed to provide an explanation. On top of all his sins, then, the king attempts to find wisdom in the wrong place. The Babylonian experts cannot uncover the meaning of the message. It is written in their own language, Aramaic, as we shall see tomorrow, but they cannot make sense of the words. This might remind us of what the Lord speaks through Isaiah. In Isaiah 29 verse 14, For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hidden. After quoting this verse, the Apostle Paul states in 1 Corinthians 1:20-21, Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? For since in the wisdom of God the world through wisdom did not know God, it pleased God through the foolishness of the message preached to save those who believe. Some truths are too important to be left for humans to try to figure out for themselves. That's why God, instead, reveals these truths to us. And so, to finish today, think about what the rewards were going to be, and, given what was soon to follow, worthless those rewards really were. What should this tell us about just how fleeting things in the world can be, and why we always need to keep the perspective of eternity in mind in all that we do? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired, Christian Record Services for the Blind, the Sabbath School Department, and Hope Channel. You can also listen on the official Sabbath School 4 app and the Apple iTunes app, Sabbath School with Percy Harrold. Remember, God is always faithful.